Okay, it is.
Have any public.
I now call this meeting to order for the Council Bluffs Community Schools Workshop Business Meeting of July 28th. Mrs. Strowski, would you please call a roll?
Yes, Dr. Ozello.
Present.
Mr. Peters.
Present.
Ms. Hardiman.
Present.
Mrs. Greiner.
Present.
Mr. Kozier.
Present.
Ms. Myers.
Present.
Mr. Tripp.
Here. And if you would all please stand and join with me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right, I would entertain a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda as published.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion is second. Any discussion regarding the agenda? Seeing as there is none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have approval of minutes for the work session and workshop business meeting of June 23, 2026. Is there a motion?
I move for the approval of the minutes and work session of the workshop business meetings of June 23rd, 2026 to be approved as presented.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion regarding the minutes? Seeing as there is none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, we have public participation. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board regarding agenda items or any other matters of concern. We do not have any members of the public here tonight, so we will move on to our superintendent's report. Dr. Ramey, the floor is yours.
Welcome.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Tripp. And before I introduce Mrs. Ostrowski, I'd just like to take a minute and thank the board, the team, everyone here at Council Bluffs Community School District, and really the community in general, just for the very warm welcome I've received over the last several weeks. I'm so happy to be here. Really looking forward to the work we're going to do together, continuing on with the great momentum that Dr. Morello has built here over the last several years. And just I want to say again, thank you for welcoming me. Thank you for having me here. And I just look forward to the great work that we're going to do together. So with that, we'll move on to our first presentation, our only presentation for this evening. Mrs. Ostrowski is going to present on our 2027 legislative priorities.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's good to see all of you this evening and to talk about something that's in the future but always timely. Okay? And so tonight we will be, even though the legislative session only ended about 3 months ago, May 3rd, we are going to be looking ahead to January's session and the opening of that on January 11th. Okay? All right. There we go. Our educational advocacy partners work with their member districts to curate priorities so that they may begin the process of developing a platform to then be discussed during the delegate platform or the delegate assembly. And I know several of you have served in that capacity and understand and appreciate the process that must go into creating that platform. The Iowa Association of School Boards will have us fill out a form that gives our top 4 priorities, and we also share those with the UEN so that they can use that as they begin their advocacy planning. So last year, these were the 4 priorities that you established for concentration on at this past session. This resulted in us not only locally having a voice and sharing our topics with our local legislators and those in leadership at the state level, but also gave us a chance to kind of follow them and see what progress was made. For example, for school funding last year, as you know, there was 2% SSA, an increase in the state supplemental aid, which, as we all know, did not keep pace with salaries or operational costs. And so you may or may not see something like that in the upcoming priorities here. Federal funding, you'll recall that we set this as a priority at a time when there was uncertainty about how the federal changes at the Department of Ed would affect flow-through money or designated funds to the state level and to the local level. So we wanted to watch that and keep that on our radar. And so that was the purpose of that one. Property tax reform, as you know, that was a major discussion in this last session. The goal of this priority, of course, was to minimize the impact of property tax reform on local school districts. However, with the reform, the changes made, we have lost some ability to retain local authority and flexibility to adequately fund infrastructure, technology, and also safety via PEPL, SAVE, and any debt levies. We do hope, though, to realize the positive impact on local property taxes when the state takes over a greater portion of some of the funding. Now, full-day preschool funding was formerly proposed through the legislative amendments process last year. However, a broad statewide funding mandate or expansion for full-day preschool ultimately did not pass. It was, instead, the debate really focused on early childhood system overhauls. So full-day preschool funding did not get serious consideration. So what we'd like to do moving forward for next year and for your discussion and a resolution later in the meeting is to talk about some proposed priorities for this coming year. This priority recommendation takes into account the importance of SSA being set at a rate that comes closer to meeting the increases in costs, but also early in the session to allow us to plan for the next fiscal year's budget. And it also takes in consideration the need to have adequate resources for the unique needs of different school districts and our students. We are proposing combining with this priority a focus on accountability, especially as it relates to private schools that currently benefit from having state funding through education savings accounts. Accountability in enrollment, assessment, and reporting to the public are all really important. For the next one, you'll see our perennial favorite, and that is maintaining as one of our priorities full-day preschool funding for this coming session. We really want to continue to send the strong message that 0.5 funding for our preschool children is just not an adequate investment in our youngest learners. Resources for teacher education programs, recruitment, and retention. The key really to this priority is the focus on resources. It will not only be critical for the state to invest in teacher education, but also to advance the profession and include incentives that help Iowa school districts recruit and retain the brightest. And our final proposed priority for next year is somewhat of a two-part priority with the focus on local control for funding and decision-making. The goal would be that school districts have flexibility similar to cities to use funding as needed to meet local needs, not just as prescribed by the state. A complementary goal included would be to eliminate unfunded mandates. We've talked about that for a lot of years too. An example of this is the implementation of the required K-6 math program with the expectation to purchase the screener, to progress monitor and have a tool to do that, and also to train staff to then implement the interventions that would come as a result. And again, not that this is a bad thing to do, it's just that there was no funding, so local school districts needed to find the resources to implement this change. So these are the 4 proposed priorities for your discussion and consideration this evening. And again, we, as a result of your discussion and then ultimate vote on a resolution this evening, we will then present those to IASB and UEN for them to include in the statewide analysis of their advocacy platforms for the coming year. So with that, Chase, Dr. Ramey, I'll introduce and entertain any questions you all might have.
I had one about we took off the tax reforms. Even though we get inundated with so much of the public being upset with any kind of tax things we do, we're just going to not put it in our top 4? Okay. That's my discussion.
I think, well, what they're worried about is just the increase that we have in our levy, right?
Right.
That's not exactly tax reform.
Well, it's the tax that we put on to, that comes to the schools.
I guess this is open for discussion.
That's what I was going to ask, if
Presuming you
this,
think
yeah.
there's more, what do you think is more important than on the list that we have up here? We're discussing, we have a top four. 'Cause we can change these and all.
I think the teacher education programs, we are highly attentive to. And I don't know what kind of benefit we would get from the state. Are there resources out there that they would give us, not offer us, but give us?
I know, I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, salaries are tough, budget-wise, and having,
Right.
part of that's recruitment and retention also. So, I mean, if
Correct.
we try to introduce something in that the state would be willing to do.
Would be a different story, sure.
It's also kind of, to me, it seems like it's pushing on a door that's already swinging open, because some of the few, state legislative, priorities that have happened in years past and changes have been focused around making it easier for teachers to get certified here, making it easier for teachers out of state that are coming into state to be able to still teach, and lowering some of the requirements. Some of that I don't agree with, but I think this sort of having this bullet point of these resources for teacher education programs kind of fits into that lens that the current state legislature is already looking at. That's kind of how what I thought of and it fits with our district really well, since we're across the river from the largest metro area in Nebraska, and our district has to compete quite a bit, with those programs, and being able to offer additional education programs, additional recruitment incentives, having, the state be able to back that would be very beneficial. I was one that I was going to ask a little bit is if there had been any talk of having any priorities that are funding focused but specific to special ed funding, because I think I always go back and forth whenever we have this discussion on if it's better to have priorities that line up better with some of the other districts in our area, because then it's more voices in unison for one priority, hopefully better that it actually goes through, or if it's better to have more diverse opinions that are more specific to our own district, because then it might shine a light on something that people aren't watching. And especially where I really think about that is with special ed funding, because our district has a very large number of students with IEPs, students that are from other districts that come to our district specifically because of our special ed programs. And the fact that that funding impacts us so much. And I started thinking about that a lot because a few years back with the AEA push changes that happened, and how there was such a strong pushback from the general public on those changes, especially where it was focused around special education funding. Should that maybe be something that we add or change to?
I think that falls right into the timely, equitable, adequate state funding.
You think it
I
fits?
mean,
I agree, Dave. That's what I was going to say, is I think that if you think of equitable and weighting wise, if
Right.
they are adequately weighted and reimbursed, yeah, then that would
That-
be,
I mean,
that would encompass that.
And I like the equal accountability for all Iowa schools, public and private.
Yes.
I'm sure that's
Yeah.
something every public school in Iowa is pushing
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
for. It has been for years.
yeah.
I know during our initial LLRC meeting, that was a hot topic. So I have a feeling it'll make the agenda.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I will note, based on that discussion, is we have an opportunity to put some thoughts behind each of these priority areas, and then create a handout for our local legislators and for our chamber and for others who are interested. And so we could put a special focus example, special education, in that priority area, and I think that would perhaps meet some of your requests there.
I personally, I would very much like that. I won't name any specific names as far as legislators, but in the past, we've had conversations with them about funding, and we tend to get a pretty canned response of, oh, you guys want more money every year. And yeah, you're going to get more money. It's probably going to be either 2% or 2.5%. And like having it much more focused as far as something specific, I think is important to be able to have a specific point to say, hey, this is what we're looking at.
I do, and it's interesting because their talking point is always, well, we did 49% of the budget, right?
Yeah,
Well, maybe the budget needs to be bigger.
yeah.
I was,
We can stay at the 49%, but maybe in order to get adequate funding and resources for our teachers and being able to keep up with inflation, maybe the budget of the state needs to increase.
I was also questioning about the first priority. I do like adding an example to make special education be very clear, because I don't know if it would be 100% obvious. But I'm also wondering, do we want to set a benchmark of adequate state funding? Should it be 3%? Should it be, do we need to say specifically what we are looking for? Because I also go back to some of our legislative discussions, again, not naming any names, but hearing them say that it's not like our schools are woefully underfunded, despite only getting a 2% increase. So I wonder if we do need a benchmark that says we would like this percentage of funding to match inflation, or, to make up for almost a decade of increase of supplemental state aid not matching inflation. Do we need to be very specific with that?
Well, also taking into account the percentage of schools in our state that are on budget guarantee. So really, how many schools are getting 2% that you are passing? Just,
well, and we're only getting really 1%.
right. So how much of that 49% of your budget is 1%? So yeah, you're saying 2, but that's not what the numbers are.
No, because they hold us to the fire about our attendance. There's always a caveat.
I like what Ms. Griner stated. I think it should follow like the state CPI or something. That way there's a defined amount that at least is keeping up with inflation. Because there's been times where, a few years ago, inflation was 8%, and we still were only seeing 3%. So if we can't keep up with inflation, our teachers are actually losing money every year. They're not gaining anything.
Well, another interesting point that you just brought up, Ms. Hardeman, is about the budget guarantee. It is only 1%. And if we have increased enrollment the next year, we're still only getting that 1% despite having more students in our district until the year following. And then when enrollment is readjusted, then we get to the full supplemental state aid. So I'm wondering if there needs to be some sort of wording that talks about how 1% is not enough, or maybe it needs to be 1.25, and that is something that I think we have brought up.
It needs to be at least what the CPI is.
Right.
I mean, it needs to be at least what
Right.
inflation is. That has to be the floor.
Right.
Budget guarantee should be CPI.
Yeah, that should be the
If they
floor.
Give us more, great, but that should be that should be the bar.
Yeah.
Also curious, I know that you were mentioning something about changing, and we said, why doesn't this special ed fit into the first one? Doesn't preschool funding fit into the first one?
Sure.
If we're gonna provide a narrative or
Yeah.
examples, we can just wrap that into the top one, and that opens up a whole nother priority that we could.
Yeah, definitely.
But does pulling it out give it more weight? I mean, we've listened to
That's what I
Dr.
think.
Matthews talk about the ESC and how successful it is in not only catching up our students, but also bringing them above the state average of test scoring. Do we need that pulled out to give it weight? I guess is kind of a question.
Any more than special ed,
Right.
right?
Yeah, can we just have 10 proposed priorities and then, no,
Here's the beautiful thing, too, is that we can advocate for more things.
Yeah.
But this is just our voice
Yeah.
in the IASB and UEN's discussion. And I like what you were saying about, should we have some that are unique to us?
Yeah.
Yes, we can do that, and we can articulate those locally and to our legislators as a school board and school district. But what ones do we think will help influence what it is the IASB and UEN are focusing on this year?
Usually when it gets to the floor for the delegates, it has changed.
Yeah.
Right.
So, we can say what we want and put words out there and hope that they listen to us, but there's a whole room full of people with their opinions.
But it's going to change based on what the LRC decides are what they decide are the priorities. So it's up to Dr. Rosello and her colleagues to advocate. Well,
Trying to remember how many of us are there.
yeah,
Yeah, there's a fair amount.
yeah, there's a fair amount, but yeah, that's what it comes down to, because unless it meets that level that the LRC recognizes it.
Right.
It makes it difficult then to raise a resolution from the floor.
It is very
From the
difficult, yes.
body. I mean, because if it's not in the booklet, then it takes two-thirds vote to bring it, to suspend the rules, to be able
Yeah.
to bring that resolution before the whole body. So, I mean, it's up to us to be advocates to make sure that the LRC is crafting the priorities that we align with.
And-
The first one should be bullet pointed. We should take out the equal accountability. That could almost be its own thing because it doesn't go with funding.
Right.
It sort of does, but it doesn't. And you could bullet point and have preschool, full day, special education at state supplemental aid at bottom, at the bar at CPI, those
Like
three
sub-bullet points?
Yeah, just bullet points of what specific things we're talking about as far as.
That are
state funding.
specific to our community.
Yeah. And that discuss state funding, like the things that we want from timely, equitable, and adequate state funding. And equal accountability, can that include homeschools too? Because I feel like there's a disservice going on in our state, allowing homeschools to go through and not have the same requirements as far as testing and education. I mean, there's people out there I know personally that are not homeschooling their kids, but are homeschooling their kids. And if the ESAs are going to be allowed to provide some compensation for that, that's going to open up a whole nother. Are we doing a disservice to the children by allowing that to happen and not having accountability? Not just in public schools, private schools, charter schools, home schools. We should all have the
Same accountability, public, private, home, doesn't matter, yes. Equal accountability, and I think that's where they were trying to come with that.
Most definitely, yeah, yeah. So are you proposing potentially weaving full-day preschooling into the adequate state funding and making equal accountability a separate bullet?
That's what I was saying. but
Yeah.
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
it's up to the board.
Is
I
that,
like that. How are you?
I personally like it left out, but again, if the board, that's okay. I'm not.
I would go back to what Mrs. Ostrowski said earlier, that really tonight, we're trying to just coalesce the four that we want to forward to ISB. One of my takeaways from our conversation is, we can come back to you with a more very specific, these are Council Bluffs legislative priorities, put together a one-sheeter or a quarter sheet that we can hand out to community leaders, that we can take to legislators, so everybody's speaking with a common language about what our legislative priorities are. They go well beyond the four, or we break them into categories. We even get the tax reform or pieces in there as well. It's just that these are more just overarching themes that we want to make sure that we get to IASB. But we can definitely come back to the board with a draft brochure or something else that provides the meat to some of these priorities, gives more detail, rounds out the different types of equal accountability we're talking about for the board to further consider. Because, I mean, it is early, right? It's not even August. And so some of this, as we get the school year started, might change. And so to give us some more flexibility about what we want that to look like as we go into the legislative session, we're happy to bring that back and have a more robust conversation, even potentially at a work session or something like that, about
Okay.
that.
All right, fine. Rein us in.
No, it's okay. This is still the presentation, so when we move into resolutions, we can discuss again on how we want to proceed.
Okay.
Anything further for Mrs. Strowski while we have her?
Thank you all for what a great discussion.
Thank you, Mrs. Strowski.
Thank you.
All right, do you guys want a couple seconds to think about that personally, or just dive right in because the first resolution?
Might as well just continue.
Why are you looking at me, Mr. Tripp?
Okay, so we'll move into resolutions for tonight. Our first resolution is approval of the 2027 legislative priorities. First, is there a motion?
I move that the board approve the following 2027 legislative session priorities: timely, equitable, and adequate state funding for public schools and equal accountability for all Iowa schools. Number 2, full-day preschool funding. Number 3, resources for teacher education program, recruitment and retention. And finally, number 4, increased flexibility and local control for school districts and limitations on adoption of unfunded state mandates.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. The floor is open for discussion. Anything further from the board that we'd like to discuss? As Dr. Amy pointed out, we obviously can work this back through a work session or another board meeting where we can go through and identify things that are more directly impactful to our community, or even just make revisions. And I'm sure we could send them back to IASB as revisions that we feel are more direct coming.
So what
from-
we're approving now is just the overall, those 4 things, and it's kind of a blanket statement at this point, and then we're going to refine it later for our local area. Correct?
And then we'll submit it in August,
August 21st.
when the IASB will ask for our
Okay.
legislative
Yeah, I believe
priorities.
that's
Okay.
correct.
So-
And I think from the previous discussion, it seemed like we were all kind of in sync with what these are. We're all in agreement with these. It maybe needs some wordsmithing, or just like some changing of
Okay.
priority, but it seems like all of these 4 are in line with what we're all believing should be the priorities for the year. Is that reasonable?
Good assessment.
Any further discussion from the board? Okay, seeing as there is none, Mrs. Strowski, please call our roll.
Certainly, Ms. Hardeman.
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Dr. Ozello?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
And the motion carries. Next, we have approval of policy updates. Is there a motion?
I move that we waive the second reading and approve the policies and administrative regulations presented to comply with new legislative requirements.
Thank you.
Second?
A motion and a second. Let's have some discussion.
I have questions.
Please, feel free.
Just got to, I made the no questions, but then I didn't write what policy it was in. It was regarding the 30-minute time period of the student returning to class. 512.2. Yeah. I had 2 questions, is if it was the same class period, if we are thinking of our secondary students, and it is the same class period if we have some of our longer class periods in, like, I think of middle school, the ones that are longer, and we have that student returning. I had a question about that. What is done then in that case?
So the regulation actually divides it into kindergarten through 5th grade, and that's
Okay.
where the 30 minutes apply.
Okay,
In 6th through 12th grade, they are removed and cannot come back at least until the next day.
okay,
So that gives the principal time to have meetings with the teacher, have some conversations, time to have student counseling conversations, discipline parents, hold a meeting if needed. But the earliest would be they'd return the next day.
okay. That was the one. Okay. And then I did have another question about on the violent disruption. in the same policy, that they're not readmitted if the following criteria are met. And I don't know, it talks about the student being removed if they assaulted the teacher, but not if they assaulted another student.
So if there's any violent disruption or behavior, the student must be removed.
Okay. It just didn't, I didn't know why it specified a teacher and not another student. That threw me a
That's a
little
good
bit.
question. In our training that we have planned for our principals as well as our teachers and staff, it outlines what a violent behavior is.
Okay.
It's any type of injury. It is destruction of property, and then if there is an assault as defined by Iowa code. And if any of those three were to happen, a student must be removed. There's no teacher authority on that.
Okay. And then the last one I had was on appealing to the board about the student being readmitted to the class. And there was something about that if the teacher did not agree with that, they could appeal to the board. So if we're looking at is that part of the code? Is that how the code is written? Do we know? I wanted
So
to have a chance to look.
Looks like an
So
overwhelming
Senate
yes over
file.
there.
Yeah,
Okay, never mind.
I would say Senate File 2428 does require that. It would come
Okay.
to the superintendent first, and then would come to the board.
Okay, so it does, I just was thinking if they're opposing it, and then their opposition or their chain is to come to us during the school day, that doesn't seem like a logical next step.
It would kind of go through a stair-stepping process. All of the new Iowa codes, regulations, all of our current district and school written practices and procedure, whether they're written or not, honestly, we fall within all of these practices.
Okay.
We've had students that, doesn't happen very often, but we've had students who've had a violent disruption, and we've taken the immediate measures that the regulations in Iowa code are telling us to take. And so we have many things in place. We're just going to be able to have it in writing now. Instead of having a verbal conversation with the principal and the teacher, we're going to ask them to do it in writing. So there's little tweaks like that that we're going to be changing just to kind of tighten it up so we don't get into a he said, she said situation.
More formalized process. Perfect. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm kind of curious, when it says that it needs to be brought forward to the board. So if this happens like the day after one of our meetings, if an incident occurs, like right after we've met, and then the teacher wants to bring it up with the board, are they waiting until our next work session? Are we having a special meeting? I'm just kind of curious how that procedure would look
Can you
like.
tell me which regulation so I can find the actual wording?
It was the one that you were just talking about.
512.2? What page were you on?
Violent one, I believe she means.
Yeah.
What page?
What's that? Yeah, I know, I'm trying to find it, because I already zoomed on to my next one.
2 of 3, is that what you said?
Violent,
Our whole stack could be, I think.
I'm not seeing what you guys were talking about. It's on page
one of three.
One of 3, first paragraph, Tracy.
Oh, yeah, okay. If the disruption is a nonviolent disruption, a teacher may remove the student from the classroom and place the student under the supervision of the principal or the principal's designee for at least 30 minutes. A teacher may appeal to the school board a principal's decision. So,
Okay, so yes, that's part of the written regulation. I can tell you in practice, that's not going to happen. It's just not something that typically happens. And the law says if a student has a nonviolent disruption, that teacher authority belongs to the teacher. So the teacher may decide to keep the student in the classroom and work with the student to resolve that behavior and eliminate it from happening again, or the teacher may send the student out, and the principal would need to comply with that, just like they currently do.
But it is a good catch, and it's a good question, and it is in the policy. And so we can reach out to our, our friends at ISB, other school districts, and try to get some additional guidance on how everyone else is operationalizing that. I do agree about how it would happen in practice, but it's in a board policy that you're about to adopt, and so we could get that question, or a teacher could try to exercise that right. We want to make sure that we have a process in place to handle that and to work through that. So we'll look into that and try to get some additional guidance back to the board and then make any updates to the policy or regulation that we might need to as we move forward.
Okay, thank you.
That's a really good point, because it's odd. Is it either an emergency special meeting, or do they have to wait 2 weeks? And if they don't feel safe in their classroom, do they get 2 weeks of administrative leave because that student wasn't removed, or what? Like, that's a heck of a process.
24-hour notice.
Right, what does that look like?
Yeah.
I have a question on 609.1, page 2. It's talking about the different activities that eighth graders could participate in, and I get most of these are sports and extracurricular activities. But one that I had a question on was the activities such as music, band, orchestra, and vocal. Since those are held during the school day, what does that look like if they were to advance to the high school level? Would it be busing from Kern to AL? Is that something that's going to be offered? I'm just kind of curious what that looks like.
Did it include that, or was it just for?
Activities, music, such as band, orchestra, and vocal.
It is included. We had some conversation about that at the UEN superintendent's meeting, and part of the reason we went ahead and included some of that is because of the indications we've gotten from the State Speech Association and some of the music associations. They think that's coming. The law technically relates specifically to athletics, and so we're just kind of being forward-thinking on it. But I understand the question being procedural about how would that work. Mr. Hamilton's been doing most of our work on this, and he's on vacation this week, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but if
That's
you
okay.
have a thought about how we would operationalize this.
So typically what we've done procedurally is when you take a look at music, band, or art, we have periods at the beginning and the end of the day. So we would choose to have a student attend the high school either first or last hour, or couple it up with lunch or something like that. And so no different than our high school students going out to Iowa Western. I know that this is middle school, but we have had middle school students go to our high school to take additional advanced courses and different things like that. So we would just make arrangements like we have in the past.
It would be the same as any other academic offering. Okay, thank you. I assumed so. I was just kind of curious that was the only outlier that was like included within the school day, and everything else was extracurricular. So, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have more of just like, maybe more of a request for Dr. Matthews, but I know the answer to this since I talked with Dr. Morello before she left, but about 639 with the technology, if you could provide some like information for the public, I think that would be great about how we're already kind of like meeting what is being asked of us by the state.
Absolutely, thank you. And I believe you're referring to the 60-minute time limit for instruction for K-5 students. So you may note that there are quite a few exceptions in that policy as well. So if a teacher is delivering instruction, facilitating using their own device, that doesn't count towards that 60 minutes. If a student needs access to adaptive technology to meet their learning needs, that doesn't count. So we know a lot of our programming is really going to fall under those exceptions. What we are really striving for here is meeting the spirit of the law in that when students should have that time and break away from the screen, they're getting that. So maybe we have some resources that are hands-on and tactile, that there's a replacement that's digital. We don't want to use that digital replacement. We want to use those physical resources. So all of our curriculum for K-5 will allow us to meet the compliance of this law without any issue.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything further from the board? Any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing as there is none. Mrs. Strauski, please call our roll.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Dr. Ozello?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
And the motion carries. Next up, we have approval of alternative secondary teacher position and job description. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approves the creation of the alternative secondary teacher position and adopts the accompanying job description as presented.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Should we give it?
Yeah, just note that the job description combines two previous roles, the ARC and transitions, and shifts responsibilities to serve at-risk and 6th through 12th grade students at Canesville. So this isn't exactly a new position. It is, but you're combining two people into one. Any other questions the board has? Fantastic. Mrs. Strauski, please call our roll.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Dr. Ozello?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
The motion carries. Next, we have approval of MTSS job description. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approves the job description for the MTSS coordinator as presented.
Second.
We're excited about this one. Motion and a second. Any discussion from the board?
I was kind of curious on what has been updated, because I read through it, but I don't remember the last one.
Yeah, I didn't see it redlined or struck out like other policies. so.
Yes. Thank you. So one of the very first things that was added was 10 additional days from 190 to 200. And this really incorporates then the training and the coaching that goes into this MTSS coordinator role. That is already taking place, but that person has been getting additional hours, outside of their job, and sometimes just doing it on their own. So it really just aligns with what they're doing and incorporates already the role that they're filling right now. So it's not a new position, it just really outlines actually what they're doing and adds those 10 additional days. There really isn't any additional job duties added that they weren't already doing, but it does align better with our MTSS process as well. So those MTSS behavior plans, as an example, this person already has been updating that, but it's never been reflected in their job description. It's a huge piece of what they do, updating those MTSS behavior plans for every single child in that school that has a behavior plan. And as you know, it's just really essential. And especially as we start thinking about tracking even more closely so those behaviors, this person in this role really has this then reflected in their job duty of what they're doing more accurately. So that's what this incorporates.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, to confirm, not a new position, just update on the job description to more accurately reflect the duties that are currently being performed. Any other questions or comments? Mrs. Strauski, please call our roll.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
Dr. Ozello?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
The motion carries. Last on our resolutions for tonight is professional growth systems. Is there a motion?
I move that the board approves the professional growth systems for certified staff, building administrators, central office administrators, and the superintendent as presented.
Thank you.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Pretty straightforward.
I think so, yeah.
Dr. Ramey, anything?
No, I
on
mean,
that?
just, it really updated to reflect that I'm new in this position, so it made that change. And then a couple of small changes to our certified professional growth systems based on updates to the Danielson framework, which is the model that we use for these. So just trying to stay up to date with how we're helping our staff grow and also making sure it's reflective of our organization.
All right, Mrs. Strauski, please call the roll.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Dr. Ozello?
Yes.
And the motion carries. That brings us to our consent agenda. Consent agenda includes approval of Edmentum online content provider renewal, appointment of level 1 and compliant officers, renewal of Google Workspace, approval of special education students placed outside of Council Bluffs Community School District, which is at Clayton Ridge Community Schools, Iowa Virtual Academy. Personnel agenda. And claims. Oh, disbursements, interesting. It says claims on the paper, and I was confused. And disbursements for June 2026.
No wonder you were confused.
Is there a motion?
I move that the board approves the consent agenda as presented.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion regarding consent agenda items?
I have a few things. Sorry, everyone. Okay. When I read through the Edmentum online content provider renewal, it said that the seats can roll over from the last year, and I was just kind of curious if we did have a rollover from last school year.
Yes, last year you approved a contract, and we were able to roll over about $8,000 from that contract for this school year, and any existing seats for this year will roll over next year as well with your approval.
Okay, great, thank you. I also wanted to give a shout out to the number of substitutes that have shown up on our personal agenda. Very excited about that, and thank you, Ms. Hasty, for working so hard on that. And then I also wanted just to talk about Christy Arthur is also on the personnel agenda, and I wish her and her family the best, and I know that she will be deeply missed over at TJ, and that she's done a wonderful job of pulling together our community, and is just a great person. So when I saw her name, I just knew that I wanted to talk a little bit about her. So that's all.
Thank you, Ms. Greiner. Anything further from the board?
Dr. Matthews, on the amount we're approving, the 41.8, does that include the 8,000 taken off of that? Would it have been 49.8?
No, the 41 is additional to the 8,000 that's rolling over. So we already have 8,000 kind of a credit for that. This is 41,000 for a new contract.
So it would have been 49 if we wouldn't have had the 8.
Yes, correct.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Matthews. Anything further? All right, Mrs. Straussky, please call a roll.
Sure. Mr. Peters?
Yes.
Dr. Rosello?
Yes.
Mr. Kozire?
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Yes.
Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Ms. Hardeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Greiner?
Yes.
And the consent agenda is approved. Once again, wanted to thank Dr. Ramey for being here, introducing you to our public for the first time. Thanks again, and our meeting is adjourned.
Selfie.
Trying to keep things moving.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I can deal with this. Trust me. Gonna text my colleagues and be like,
I was
we
gonna
didn't
ask-
start till 6:30 and we are already
I
gone.
was going to ask you, how does it normally go with the other ones? A little slower?
school update.
Yep, I'm like, I can get on board with this for sure.
Oh, yeah.
This in the background.
Very much. We are.
More public participation.
Oh, so meta, you gotta do